Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Good morning, John. Good morning, Sterling. Thank you for putting in the earnings, Sterling. What else we have? Who else is here? Where is everybody? Let's see. I'm scrolling through everything Sterling related. There's a bunch. I can go through these now, I guess. PayPal was a beat, but down. PayPal is down. SoFi beat. Where else? Boeing beat. What else? Spotify was a miss. UNH was a miss beat. Not yet at the key harmonic level. UPS was a miss beat. They beat on revenue. Did anybody look at their revenue versus last quarter? Because look how dumbed down the revenue expectations were compared to last quarter. Oh boy. Hey, Merck was a beat miss. Good morning, John. Thank you for shouting out Sterling. Royal Caribbean beat miss. Procter Gamble was a beat. Good morning, OD Green. Fireworks have begun. Yes, there's more coming this week. What else do we have? With some of these we don't need to go through. Good day, Rick. Been watching series Adolescence, Scary Future with Next Gen Kids. I watched that show. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, David Atkins. Good morning, Royal Palms. Hello, Charles. What was the one I just watched on Netflix? It's set in Yosemite. That was good. What was it? Untamed. I forget the name of the show now, but that was good. It just released. It's a 6-part limited series set in Yosemite. Good little series there. All right. So, can we check out SMCI if I remember Royal Palms, or if you remind me? What do we got going on this morning? We had retail inventories coming in flat, wholesale inventories higher than consensus. Red Book coming in slightly down from previous, but nothing major. What else? Good morning, Ted. Good morning, Ted. Yeah, Untamed. Thank you, Rick. Untamed. I thought they crammed too much into the last episode. Not going to put any spoilers here if you haven't watched it, but I thought they crammed a little too much in the last episode. But it was worthwhile watching. Thought they tried to put 2 episodes into the last one. Other than that, what else we have? Coming up, we have the JOLTS job openings and job quits. We are at 10 a.m. Eastern. We have Consumer Board Confidence coming out. We have Dallas Fed Services Index. So we have some numbers still coming out. Do I think it'll be enough to really jolt the market? Nah, not so sure. NASDAQ just keeps climbing on AI and stuff like NVIDIA, Broadcom. They just keep running. Again, there are no great shorts in this. Grand Rising, Christoph. Good morning, PMG. Good morning, Jake the Snake. Good morning, Tony. All right. AMD is going crazy. Everything in the chip world is going crazy. Let's take a look at the map. Everything green in the chip world. AMD up over 1%. Broadcom up nearly 1%. NVIDIA up 1.26%. Buy it all chip related. Don't buy healthcare. UNH, there's his post earnings, minus 4.53. Lilly down, Merck down. There's Boeing with their earnings up over 2%. P&G up nearly 1%. P&G actually made a weekly percent beat buy last week. I do know that because PG is a stock that I have been stalking. It's aggressive because it is against the weekly rotation zone, but keeping an eye on that one. So far, healthcare is getting slammed down over 1%, and comm services down slightly, but everything else is positive, led by technology. Going into tomorrow's Fed pause, it's 98% that there'll be a pause. Fear and greed, right on the cusp of extreme greed. We were in extreme greed, just dropped slightly out of it, but no major drop there. Schiller PE, 38.96, have not broken the 39 level yet. Maybe we can do it today. So we went through the earnings this morning. After the close, big one, Visa. That's the big one. We also have Starbucks. That would be the second one to keep an eye on. But I'm watching Visa with spending and their comments on that. So, Lily down to NVO guiding lower and firing CEO. Thank you for putting that in, OD Green. When we make a new all-time high in the overnight, well, we've had a lot of runs recently where it's really run in Europe and then slowed down in the U.S. session. Again, we're back to there. If you're going to trade something, you buy the close and you sell the open. Buy the close and sell the open. Lots of times you're not getting a lot of your returns during the day session here. You're getting them overnight. So there's lots of strategies out there. Buy the close, sell the open. In case you were wondering. All right. Let's take a look. So, S&P. What am I looking at today? Again, yesterday was a pullback day, filling the gap, and then pulling back a little more. So now we did close above the 62.5, so I'm still going to be watching for some price action to go up, especially if we pull back. We'll watch for a bounce. The bigger pullback area would be about 64.25 to 64.30 area. Minor pullback is right where we're trading now. That's what I'm still looking for. We've pulled back a little into the open, but I'm going to be watching for the next rotation up. And why is this a pullback area right now? You can see it right here. It's just below. It's right at these key lows that were broken yesterday. We paused there and then broke through it. Now we're retesting. So I'm still looking for potential buy setups, especially since we did close above the 62.5 on the 4-hour time frame. And again, yesterday dip in the rotation zone. I got asked the question: can you use the percent beat buys on the 4-hour? Yes, you can. They're more aggressive, but yesterday was a prime example. We dipped, especially they work great into the 4-hour rotation zone. So you see here, bar negative, below zero, pull back in the rotation zone. So I was yesterday looking at the high, taken out, and boom, the follow through. Still going to watch for a continued price action higher, even with this slight pullback. 64.45 and 64.51 are the targets. If we break through this level, I'm going to be patient on back to that 64.28 area. But this is the aggressive side if you're not already in something on the long side. Who else? Yeah, thanks for putting in there less margin if buy reopen at 6 p.m. Eastern time. That is true, Rick. You can do that. Rick's been doing that lately. Again, this is why I really appreciate everybody being in here. Again, Rick's sharing that with people. So thank you. I should have mentioned that. But Rick did it for me. So big shout out to Rick. There was a wedge pattern again in the NASDAQ at 5-minute from Asia session. I don't really trade 5-minute wedges. SoFi's personal loan segment is exploding. That's interesting. Thank you for putting that in there, Jake. Good morning, Patrick. You're late today, Patrick. What's going on? Are you okay? Hope everything's okay with Patrick. All right. NASDAQ was easier yesterday. Hope some people spotted this. What do we get here? What is this? It's a little lopsided, but it worked. You can see it right here on even the 15-minute. Triggered, and then boom, boom, boom. And then also, because it kept running, what do I use? The reverse harmonics. Still looking. Oops, we had a spike through there. I didn't update my level. We had a little spike through still. The double is done. Again, I'm looking at the 4-hour rotation zone still. Again, also, this was not a percent B buy. By the way, we already had the double pattern yesterday. Today, unless we start dropping below about this 25.70 area, I'll be looking still for continuation buys. We start dropping below that, I'm watching for another pullback to the 4-hour rotation zone. Next minor level, should we bounce in the open, is 23,622. Next major level is 23,636. All right. So that's where that is. If you're looking, if we do drop for bigger pullbacks, let me go back to the S&P real quick. If we do drop for bigger pullbacks, again, I'm watching for the bottom of the rotation zone, and then below that, it's right around yesterday's low, the 6,400 area. In the NASDAQ, I'm using these harmonics. All right, these are the harmonics I'm looking. I'm really focused. If we do break below this 23,575 area, I'm looking closer to the 37.5 with the rising 4-hour rotation zone right around 23,550. Then if we broke below that, the major buy zone would be between 23,525 and 23,503 on any pullback. Those levels will change if we make a new high. Keep that in mind. Isn't that how it works? Contractors seem to arrive at the top of the hour. I completely understand, Patrick. Thank you for tuning in. If I were to switch to a 4-hour swing, do you use shorter time frame for entries and exits and tighter stop losses at entry? If you 4-hour swing, do you use shorter time frame? All right, my bread and butter for this kind of stuff is daily and 4-hour, and I will drop to 1 hour, occasionally 15 minutes if I'm verifying a pattern. But like yesterday with the NASDAQ, why'd I go down to a 15-minute? Because I thought I just wanted to verify the double pattern. Okay. All right, but yes, if you're looking at 4-hour, do you use tighter? Don't overcrowd your stops, but pay attention to the bottom of the 4-hour rotation zone, and you can fine tune stuff with the 1 hour. Again, my stops naturally on a 4-hour time frame will be tighter than a daily time frame. Good question. I hope I answered that. Hi, AAFWNet. Thank you for tuning in. The Dow still technically has a mini double top and a bigger double top. I should say potential. They may not trigger. Still watching yesterday's key low on any pullback. Yesterday's low, actually, it's between about 44,900 and around 44,915 on a pullback. We start breaking below that. I'm paying attention to Friday's low for the potential double trigger. On a rally, again, if it does manage to rally, I'd be looking at these harmonics, okay? And especially look at already where it bounced off the 50%. And then to sustain something, it's got to get about 45,162 on a closing basis. Even if you don't trade this stuff, look at the levels I'm drawing if you're trying to learn my mindset and how I look at things. Russell, trading against a very key resistance area from back at Friday the 11th, from Friday the 18th. We poked above there and reversed yesterday and trying to get back there, so above 2285 roughly. The next target is back to about 2292. If we rotate up again, we'll have to see if this double remains. It does not look like it will. All right, VIX, again, I can't believe these levels that the VIX is trading going into everything that's going on. There is literally, again, I don't have to say it, no fear in this market. And any one thing could go wrong. But until it does, the DAX pulled back to key support yesterday. Key support area did not break the lows. There was not a fantastic buy setup in here, and it rallied strongly on the European Open. So there was nothing. I'm still watching either for the real breakdown play or the breakout play. Other than that, there was no great buy pattern right here from my perspective. The notes, not yet. It's easier to see on the yield. We do have a potential head and shoulders, may never trigger. This is a modified, I'm using a modified flat neckline here. Okay. If you were using the upsloping neckline, I would still have the closing area is virtually the same. It will confirm what, and the targets would be virtually the same. Nearly, I mean, unless it extends too far out. That's the only thing I'm watching for yields to drop. That may not trigger. The other thing I'm looking at for the bounce, because I'm still looking for potentially long yields climbing again, but we have to break out above 4.42, roughly. And if we did that, that would take this potential head and shoulders off the table. Crude, pointed this one out yesterday. We did trigger the double, pulled back. You remember I looked for the pullbacks between the peak and the candles there. We pulled back multiple times in that area. Now it's trying to climb higher, breaking above the channel. I was watching to see if this was going to turn into a channeling one to possibly keep a tighter stop. And it's attempting to break out above the channel. I'm watching this very key target area of the 67.75 area. I will probably even raise my stop. I'd raise it just before that. This is the roll gap. Still technically close to a roll gap. Gold, breaking down below the 50 with the cross of the rotation zone out of the channel. So it would be super aggressive to short this. I'm still watching for rollover plays. The major key breakdown area is still back at 32.55. This is the minor breakdown area to retest the lows from the end of June. So in order for me to do something with gold, it has to, I'm being patient from the long side on short-term positions. That's short-term positions. Okay. By the way, this is the first, we closed below the 50. We closed briefly below it here. Back on Friday, it popped above it. And then this, it has not really closed below it since it broke out in January. We had the one-day brief reversal there, and now we're second day. So I'm really watching where this closes today also to see if it can regain the 50 or not, or if the sentiment's changing in the short term in gold. Silver, we still technically have the double top in play. I should say potential. And we got a flattening out rotation zone, paying very close attention. Silver could also be starting soon a pullback. Dollar index, testing the upper ends of the channel. Dollar index, look at this, close above the 50. That's the first close above the 50 since it really started its breakdown. So since end of February. And now we've got follow through. Again, I'm still looking for aggressive pullback plays in the dollar or short plays in the euro. Very bearish bar yesterday, closing below key support. This is yesterday was the lowest close since back in 23rd of June. And now the topping pattern is confirmed and looks like it's going to trigger today, if not already short. So on any bounce plays, I will again be looking for rollover plays and continue to drop in the euro. Remember, if I miss stuff in the dollar index, even though the euro is only 50% of the dollar index, again, I will immediately go look at euro for potential short plays if I'm looking for dollar long, and if I'm looking for dollar short, I'll look for euro long because of how much the dollar index it is. So if you don't, or if you don't play the dollar index and you're looking for an inverse way to play it, I look for the euro first. Yen continued the weakening run. Yes, we do still have the potential double top. I'm still looking for, again, I talked about it, that 50% harmonic. We pulled back. I'm watching for it to keep going higher. Keep going higher and hit that 50% harmonic. Spiders. Another gap up today. If we roll over, it would be first would be yesterday's open 637.48. Then I'd use the gap fill to the close of 636.94 would be the targets. Next key harmonic higher is 641.45. Should it continue to run? Again, there's no major bearish setup yet. Qs. Melt up continues. By the way, the potential double was taken off the target with going through to 567.92. The next key harmonic, 570.38. So we're going to open up above it. The next thing with rolling up the shorter term harmonics, the next thing, let me clean up the chart, would be above 570.38. We're looking at 571.36 and then 576.66. Uh-oh, 57666. Market is doomed if it hits there. But that's the next key target area that we're going to run into this morning. What else? Bitcoin still caught in the range. Nothing to talk about there. Still holding the rotation zone. Still watching for a breakout because the rotation zone is still with it. But nothing there. What else do we have? What else? Hey, Christoph. How are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Euro USD needs to drop 104, 105 for the impact of the import duties on German cars to be compensated for. Well, there you go. I actually didn't do that math. So thank you for sharing that. Christoph, another wonderful longtime member of the channel. All right, who wanted what? Please type in what you wanted me to check on. Again, please type it in again instead of having me scroll through it. Tesla, I'm patiently watching for sell setups. Again, we had the fake San Francisco robo-taxi pump. Going to be watching for rollover plays against here. Patiently coming up to a very key resistance area. Other than that, there's not much. Again, we had the gap down after earnings completely shrugged off again. Still has a minor gap fill also to the upside. That's why I'm being patient on Tesla. What else? Well, I'm waiting for stuff to get put in here. Can we check on AMD? AMD is incredibly extended. It went back to the full round trip. The full round trip to the last key peak, now to the all-time highs. Yes, it is very overextended. It's going to be interesting to see if this week can close above this 170.74 level. It is very overextended, but there is no topping pattern yet, and everything into, again, here's another one. Please learn this setup. Please, it's not perfect, no setup is. But if you're looking for things, again, pullback rotation zone, what was this? A %B buy. Next day, breaking the high and following through with a close. What's this? Pullback, potential bottoming candle, setting up a %B buy. Breaking the high, and then following through with a close. Rotation zone %B buys, even %B buys by themselves. Here was another one. This had to be done. It pulled back. It gives you a little thing after the gap up. But here was another one, %B buy. Learn the pattern. Again, if you're new here, here's the setups. 5 length. It's a Bollinger Band %B. Doesn't have to be on TradingView. Just make sure you're using a Bollinger Band %B. Length 5. Source is high, low, close divided by 3. If you can't do that, just do it on a closing basis. Standard deviation 1. Wait for it to pull back below 0. That sets up the potential high. Can we trade it intraday on a break of that? If it doesn't follow through with a close, I do not hold it because it's not an official trigger. There's your AMD. Other than that, we're right against a very key resistance. Does it have to stop? If it continues to break through here, the next key area to watch for, then I'll get to the other stocks, is this 183.96. So just in front of 184 and then 189.60. SMCI, thank you, Royal Palms. SMCI. Again, breaking out. Very key resistance is getting very key resistance level up around that 61. There's a window, a key resistance window, right between 61 and mid 63s. In terms of harmonics, again, I like a lot other cleaner plays other than SMCI. But if you're looking to play SMCI, there's a very key resistance window there, and above there, there's my pullback I've been waiting for in PayPal. $70. $70 is next major key area. And remember, anything between 70 and 83 is a major rollover zone. Also, that 50% harmonic, look, another major resistance zone. So SMCI is entering very key resistance. It is still holding the daily rotation zone. So, pullback, I'd be looking for, if it does do the gap fill, it would be around 54.45. I think I covered Tesla for you. Again, there's still a gap fill left on the bullish side. After reporting solid earnings this morning, CAR is down 10% pre-market. It had completed before the drop. What's your opinion? What's my opinion on CAR? This is old. Don't pay any attention to that. That's just haven't updated this chart. You can see buy everything here. What's my opinion? It did complete the 62.5 to 87.5. At this point, I mean, you're still technically pulling back to the weekly rotation zone. This is a hyper bearish candle. This week's not closed yet, of course. I would be patient. I would be very patient. You know, it might set up tomorrow for a percent beat bounce. That would be for an aggressive bounce play only. This has some major heavy lifting to do. If I was looking for a longer term investment, this would not. I would be patient. If it started close back below the weekly rotation zone, I'd be watching for the bigger pullback. But would I be rushing in? No. The only thing is if it did set up a percent beat buy and I was a very short-term swing trader to aggressive day trader, I'd be watching today's high if it can break that tomorrow. And that would be for a bounce play only, a partial gap fill. Other than that, I'd be hands off for a longer term. ETN USDT. Finally broke above. This is not one that I watch. Again, I know we've done it before. You broke out above key resistance here, followed through your harmonics to 50%. It has not been able to close above. On a pullback, I'd be paying attention to closer to the close back on Saturday at the rising rotation zone. And that was prior resistance coming support. So as long as it does not lose this area in here, you could look for bounce plays. Again, if your targets just on pure, not even bothering with harmonics, they pretty much line up though. Here's the key target. You're just dropping below it now, so I'd be focused back to this other target. And then on a rotation back up, I'd be looking at this 0029 and then 0034. In order to sustain something higher, it would have to get above on a closing basis 0040. All right. If you start closing back below this key level right here, you could easily be a break back down. So I would not be aggressive if you start really losing this level. Did I hear you say you're waiting for PM? PM, I'm waiting for closer to this 200. And then I'm going to evaluate there. It is getting very oversold. We got cycles getting to the bottom. We got the declining rotation zone, and it's below this key resistance area right here. See this? I am looking here. I'll show you exactly where I'm looking. Looking somewhere right around in there on Philip Morris. Because also we've closed now on a daily basis. I want to see how this week closes, and look where the 50 is. This is really where I'm focused. We almost triggered the 62.5 rule last week, but I'm going to be patient. We are oversold, so I would not be surprised to see it bounce. Could be played potentially on a weekly percent B buy above here, but that's not a long-term thing yet for me. That would be for a bounce. Longer term, I'm watching for a stronger buy setup closer to this key level. All right. All right. Procter Gamble. Procter Gamble. This is, we had a weekly percent B buy last week. So far pulling back this week, and why this is very cautious. I'll tell you why this is very cautious still. I am interested in PG. There has to be a tight stop on this one. We spiked below it. We set up a weekly percent B buy against the weekly rotation zone, and we slammed into it last week. Slammed straight into it. So, being still very, very cautious here in the longer term, we're also against the 50% harmonic area. If we lose last week's low, then I'm looking for something closer to 144 for a major buy level. It's still, if you see above my head, it's not got a great dividend yield yet, and it's still pricey on P to E. So, if this level's lost, I'm looking closer to the 144 area for another potential setup. This is very aggressive now with the declining rotation zone and breaking key support. I would love it to actually pull back to this 62.5 area, which will drop the price PE even more. And it was the beat. Sterling put that in earlier, but getting sold on that. So again, the percent B has not been invalidated. The stop still has to be below last week's low. PIUSDT. Why is it giving me spinny wheel? There we go. PIUSDT, nothing's pretty much changed. I know this has been asked about before. This is I do not trade or actually even monitor this. At this point, again, you're still against that 87.5 harmonic. At this point, the only thing for the bullish breakout for me, it'd have to get above 0.5. That's it. That would be the only minor breakout point. And above there, the next target would be 0.63 area. If it were to manage breakout, there's no... I wouldn't even trade that as a double. So again, above about 0.5 would be the breakout play. Other than that, I just set an alert. If it starts breaking below 0.4, down below again, this 0.42 area, 0.41, I wouldn't be touching it at all. That's not a strong double. This is just a flat thing. I'd be, again, watching. If you're looking at this, you see how it's prior support turning into resistance, poking through and closing back below. So again, I'd watch right around that 0.5 level for the breakout play. All right, with that, not much to talk about. Let's just peek S&P. S&P. Again, still has the 1 hour closed above there, but I need in the 4 hour data, I'm still looking. We had the pullback play. We start breaking up to the upside, 64.45, 64.51. The NASDAQ through the unstoppable NASDAQ, continuing to climb, depending on AI and chips. Again, the next major target in the NASDAQ is all the way up at roughly 23,900. Until then, not much else to talk about. So we'll call it a day. Hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful trading day. I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.